The office of Croft and Thorne was a temple of modern success, all polished steel and panoramic glass overlooking a city that glittered like a bed of stolen stars. Here, two brothers-in-arms, Liam Croft and Julian Thorne, had built an empire not just on numbers, but on a bond that seemed unbreakable. Liam was the architect, his mind a quiet engine of brilliant, ethical strategy. Julian was the dazzling frontman, his charm a key that unlocked any door. Together, they were unstoppable. Their crowning achievement, the Chimera Fund, was more than an investment. It was Liam's vision for a greener future, a legacy project poised to change the world. The trust between them was the foundation of it all, a foundation Liam never imagined could be cracked, let alone shattered. The end began with a lie wrapped in a celebration. Julian, clapping a hand on Liam's shoulder, his smile a perfect, guileless thing, had insisted on handling the final, monumental transfer from their new Swiss investors. "You've done the heavy lifting, Liam. Let me tie the bow." Liam, whose heart was as open as his ledgers, agreed without a second thought. He arrived on the morning of the launch to silence. The vibrant office was a ghost town. Desks were barren, servers gone, the hum of ambition replaced by a hollow, chilling quiet. His keycard failed. A cold dread, sharp and metallic, filled his mouth. Using a backup laptop, his fingers trembling over the keys, he accessed their accounts. Zero, a string of devastating zeros where millions had been. The Swiss contacts were disconnected. His phone erupted, a cacophony of rage from investors, gleeful venom from the press. Headlines branded him a monster, the mastermind of a Ponzi scheme. Julian, his wife, and every cent of their shared dream had vanished into the ether. The fall was brutal and public. Liam was stripped of everything, his wealth, his reputation, his future. He became a pariah hounded by cameras and lawsuits, the walls of his life closing in. One rain-lashed night, standing on a pier watching the dark water churn, he was mugged. It was a pathetic, final indignity. As his wallet and phone disappeared beneath the waves, he saw a news alert on a public screen. Disgraced financier Liam Croft missing, feared dead. In that moment of absolute nothingness, a new, terrifying idea was born. Liam Croft, the betrayed, the broken, had to die. He found his way to Arthur Finch, the ally, a reclusive, world-class forger and identity craftsman who owes Liam a life debt. A man who operated in the shadows, a craftsman of new identities. Arthur's workshop smelled of ink and old paper. "Liam Croft needs to die," Liam whispered, his voice rough with a grief that had already fossilized into resolve. "Create someone he can't hurt, someone strong." Arthur worked his magic, a sculptor of flesh and paper. When it was done, he handed Liam a mirror. The man staring back was a stranger. His eyes, once warm, were now a colder shade, framed by the subtle, surgically added scar that ran through his eyebrow. His posture was different, coiled and dangerous. Arthur then pressed a small, burgundy booklet into his hand. Liam opened it. The face the stranger in the mirror stared back, and beside it, a name that felt like a weapon. Kane Frost. The name echoed in the silent room, a promise of the storm to come. 6 months later, Kane Frost emerged from the financial underworld of Eastern Europe like a sleek, predatory shark. He was everything Liam Croft was not: cold, impenetrable, and ruthlessly efficient. He moved through the world of high finance with a quiet authority that demanded respect and bred fear. His target was in Monaco, basking in the stolen sun. Julian Thorne was now a celebrated billionaire philanthropist, his betrayal laundered into respectability. He lived in a fortress of marble and money, but a faint paranoia flickered behind his eyes. The first strike was subtle. A major deal Julian had spent months cultivating inexplicably collapsed at the final hour. The loss was staggering, the cause a mystery. Then the psychological warfare began. An unmarked package arrived at Julian's villa. Inside was a bottle of Macallan M, the very same rare whiskey he and Liam had shared the night they founded their company. There was no note. The message was in the memory, a ghost tapping on the window of his conscience. Later, an anonymous tip found its way to Alina Voss, the catalyst, a sharp, ethical, and perceptive financial journalist who was writing a profile on the duo before the betrayal. The journalist whose profile had once celebrated their partnership. The tip, a single thread from the complex tapestry of his fraud, was enough to make her start pulling. Julian's charmed life began to fray. He saw Liam's face in crowds, jumped at shadows. The foundation of his new life, built on a lie, was proving to be dangerously unstable. The confrontation came at Julian's own charity gala. Amid the glittering throng, Kane watched him. Their eyes met across the room, and a jolt of primal recognition, unnerving and deep, passed through Julian. He approached, his charm a brittle mask. "Do I know you?" Julian asked, his voice a carefully controlled casual. Kane offered a smile that didn't touch his eyes. "No," he replied, his voice low and steady, "but I knew a man you betrayed, a man named Liam Croft." Julian's composure cracked. The color drained from his face. Kane leaned in close, his whisper a blade of ice sliding between Julian's ribs. "He sent me." Before Julian could form a word, Kane turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving the billionaire standing alone, surrounded by his opulent illusion, the taste of fear sharp and coppery in his mouth. The endgame was a masterpiece of financial destruction. Kane, operating with the cold precision of a surgeon, orchestrated a bear raid that eviscerated Julian's flagship company. By noon, its stock was in freefall, wiping out hundreds of millions in value. Panic erupted. Then came the courier. The package contained no threat, only truth, a damning dossier of every stolen dollar, every forged document, every secret transfer. It was evidence that could only have come from one person, his dead partner. The trap was sprung. Elena Voss and her news crew were stationed outside his building, ready to broadcast the downfall live. Cornered, frantic, Julian demanded a meeting in his penthouse sanctuary. When Kane entered, Julian was wild-eyed, a cornered animal waving a pistol. "It's over, Thorne," Kane said, his voice unnervingly calm. He began to speak, not of money or fraud, but of a cold night in their final year of college, of sharing a single, threadbare blanket and a dream so big it kept them warm. He recounted a secret, a promise they had made to each other that no one else on Earth could know. Julian's gun hand began to shake. The truth was a physical blow. "Liam," he choked out, disbelief and horror warring on his face. "I am the consequence," Kane stated, his gaze unwavering. He gestured around the sterile penthouse. "And this room is a confession booth. Every word is being heard by the police and is about to be heard by the entire world." The wail of sirens rose from the streets below, a symphony of his ruin. Julian. Thorne crumpled, the fight gone out of him. He was given a final, cruel choice: be dragged away in cuffs or walk out and confess everything to the waiting camera. A broken man, he chose the latter. As Julian was led away and the media scrum erupted, Kane stood on the balcony, the city lights twinkling below. Elena found him there. "It was you all along," she said, her voice soft with a mix of pity and awe. "Liam Croft is dead," he replied, the words final. He handed her a final data drive, the complete, unedited truth. "The story is yours." He turned to leave, the ghost of his old life finally laid to rest. "Where will you go?" Elena called after him. Kane Frost paused at the door. For a fleeting instant, the hard lines of his face softened, and a genuine, peaceful smile touched his lips, the ghost of Liam Croft, finally at peace. He didn't look back as he stepped into the elevator, his final words hanging in the air like a whisper. "Somewhere I don't need a name." The elevator doors closed, sealing him in silence. The numbers above the door descended, PH10, 5G. The doors slid open to reveal the bustling, empty lobby. He was gone, not a trace remained. Kane Frost had vanished into the world he had reclaimed, his final destination a mystery as profound and enduring as the silence he left behind.